Hey Russ, obviously it's a long season, but when you look at the big picture, what's your personal expectation of how long the process will take where you think you and the guys will be the best versions
I don't
of
have
yourselves?
an answer for that one, honestly. I know that's the question everybody keep asking. Like nobody has a real answer for that. We just gonna play, just like every other team, and then we gonna figure it out. You know, we don't need to figure it out. October 18, 19, whenever the first game is. We got one goal in mind, that's to win the championship. So throughout the season, there are going to be ups, there are going to be downs, there are going to be adversity. As long as we're together and on the same page, that's all that matters.
After an absolutely exhilarating offseason where the Los Angeles Lakers made several offseason additions, not limited to the trading for Russell Westbrook, the signing of an aging Carmelo Anthony, the acquisition of Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn, the reacquisition of Rajon Rondo, Wayne Ellington, Ken Bazemore, Dwight Howard, and Trevor Ariza. This is all off the top of my head, so I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple of things. This all culminated in us finally getting to see this remarkable Los Angeles Lakers super team taking the court. I understand that most of the media just couldn't wait to tear this team up into shreds after they lost each and every single one of their preseason games thus far. Now the question is there a cause for concern? Well, if we look back at a previous season that the Lakers had that was very similar to this season, there are some parallels that could be drawn. Real quick before we get to the content, I just want to let you guys know that my Laced Up podcast is going to give away a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X once it gets to 40,000 subscribers. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications on this channel because we're on the grind to 600k subs. And now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. There has been no shortage of Los Angeles Lakers memes, people poking fun at the acquisition of Russell Westbrook, and people just assuming that the Los Angeles Lakers are going to be a horrific team this year. After all, wouldn't this team be able to win at least one preseason game, even if Anthony Davis just made his debut during the Lakers' last game? Even the duo of Russell Westbrook and LeBron James should be more than enough to win at least one preseason game. I'm going to preface this by saying, personally, I'm not really this concerned because I remember seeing a season very similar to this one, and this was during the Los Angeles Lakers' first stint with Dwight Howard. Although in this instance it was significantly more volatile. So during the offseason we were all extremely excited because the Los Angeles Lakers were able to trade for Steve Nash, which was pretty much the same age that Carmelo Anthony is right now, and in addition they were able to trade for Dwight Howard, who at the time there was a legitimate argument for him being the second best player in the entire NBA, and there were some circles that were even considering him to be better than LeBron James in some instances. Although his hype was slowly starting to die down, at that point there was significant amounts of hype for a pairing of Dwight Howard with Kobe Bryant, in addition to having Pau Gasol and Steve Nash on that team. Ultimately, the Lakers decided to keep Mike Brown as their head coach, and if you supplement that with Metta World Peace, who was a very important member of the Los Angeles Lakers 2010 championship run, you can understand the excitement around this team. Now, coming into the season, the Lakers retained Mike Brown as their head coach, and he did something pretty unique over here. He began installing the Princeton offense, and this was a decision he made even before the Lakers acquired Steve Nash. He thought about using this offense the previous season, but there was a lockout the previous season, so the NBA actually had a shortened schedule that season, so it was a little bit too hectic to implement. The Lakers even brought in a guru of the Princeton offense that ran it with the Philadelphia 76ers during the 2010 season unsuccessfully before, and this was the third offense the Lakers would use in 3 seasons after using the triangle offense a few years prior with great success, might I add, and then Mike Brown's own offense the season after. Now, this is where things would get a little bit sticky. You see, Dwight Howard had back surgery in April and would not be able to play basketball until training camp in October, and then the Lakers would go winless 0-8 with Dwight Howard, with Pau Gasol Ball, Meta World Peace, and Steve Nash and Kobe Bryant playing in the preseason, but Dwight Howard would just play 2 games in that entire preseason, returning way too early to play in my opinion. And to summarize the rest of the season, Mike Brown would get fired just 4 games into the season. Bernie Bickerstaff was brought in as the interim head coach, and they had some moderate success with him. And then Mike D'Antoni was brought in to be the full-time head coach, and the rest of the season was just an absolute tragedy. That was the year Kobe Bryant would tear his Achilles. That was the year that the Lakers would finish with a 7th seed. They would lose to the San Antonio Spurs in the first round, and Dwight Howard would leave in the offseason. So there are some similarities in that situation to what the Los Angeles Lakers are going through right now, in the sense that, yeah, the Lakers are currently winless. The Lakers are currently classified as a quote-unquote super team, and yes, in the sense that it was the exact same franchise 8 years ago. Also in the sense that the Lakers are trying to integrate another former all-star into the lineup, and also in the sense that all of the members of their quote-unquote big 3 didn't play the entirety of the preseason. Someone that has been under the microscope during this time is none other than Russell Westbrook. In Russell Westbrook's debut with the Los Angeles Lakers, he went 1 for 7, shooting 14% from the field, didn't even attempt a 3-pointer, and had 6 turnovers. But he was able to dish out 4 assists, grab 7 rebounds, and put up 2 points. In his second game with the Los Angeles Lakers, he went 3 of 12 from the field for 25% from the field, shot 40% from 3, converting 2 out of 5 of them. He had 5 assists, 2 rebounds, and turned the ball over 9 times. And then most recently, the Lakers faced off against the Golden State Warriors once again, and Russell Westbrook went 3 of 9 from the field, which is 33% from the field, 1 of 3, but grabbed 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 turnovers. To say that it hasn't been the greatest start for the Los Angeles Lakers would be a bit of an understatement. Now, throughout all of this, there has been some good. I mean, Austin Reeves has done a remarkable job in his opportunity to shine for the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers also happened to acquire the very same player that was traded for DeAndre Jordan in the salary cap dump that the Brooklyn Nets conducted with the Detroit Pistons earlier that offseason, and the Lakers understand that there is quite a bit of work to get to in order to get to where they need to be to succeed. So is this like 2013 at all? Well, no, because there's significantly more stability in this instance. I think you could draw a comparison to the Miami Heat Big 3 in the sense that there was growing pains in the very beginning of that tenure as well. Now, that's not to say that LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, and Anthony Davis are going to be nearly as dominant. However, I do have tremendous belief in LeBron just figuring it out with Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis, because historically he's always done a good job figuring out how to get his teammates into the best situations to succeed. However, the one thing that doesn't give me as much confidence is Russell Westbrook's always been sort of the opposite. Every single time he had a superstar teammate, there was just some sort of chemistry issue or some sort of fit that just didn't work out for the team. In the case of Kevin Durant, obviously I believe they just reached their height of their potential, and Kevin Durant saw greener pastures and decided to leave. In the case of Carmelo Anthony and Paul George, Carmelo was a little bit of an awkward fit, and then when he was traded, Paul George and Russell Westbrook weren't enough to get the Thunder where they needed to be. In the case of James Harden, I thought originally that was always a very bad fit to begin with, in the sense that both players needed the ball in their hands to make plays. Russell Westbrook wasn't necessarily the greatest complement to an ISO heavy player that would want to dish to him for a wide open 3, and we're seeing the same exact thing going on here with the Los Angeles Lakers and Russell Westbrook so far. There's literally instances and screenshots of players just leaving him wide open for 3, and this could potentially take the Lakers out of rhythm. Although this is a conclusion I had in the offseason, I'm sure this is something LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the rest of the Lakers understood before trading for Russell Westbrook to begin with. All in all, I'm going to give the Lakers about 3 months to figure this out, and if we're starting to see a very bad start to the season, if we see them slip out of the top 4 of the Western Conference, then that might be a little cause for concern. So let me know in the comment section down below. Is this something that you're actually terrified of? Is this something that you're actually concerned about? Do you think that the Lakers could have made a mistake trading for Russell Westbrook? And do you think that could potentially ruin their spacing and take them out of a rhythm this entire season? Or do you think this is just a situation where the Lakers need to wait a little bit, figure out their team chemistry, figure out where to put each player in the best situation to succeed, and eventually they will figure it out? If you made it to the end of this video, comment it's only preseason or the Lakers are doomed. And aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.